Hi, so we're going to go ahead continue our multiplication unit, and let's go ahead spoil a surprise. It's going to be another multiplication shortcut unit. So multiplication shortcuts. Okay, so this is I think like the third video in our series so far. Okay, so because we're continuing the series, we're starting at fun problem 6 versus fun problem number 1. So it says square the binomials as indicated. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what the popular wrong mistake is. Okay, so if we are squaring a plus b, okay, the popular wrong mistake is, oh, I got you, Miss Torres. Let's go ahead, distribute the square. Okay, remember, this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, so students sometimes they're like, oh, let's distribute the square. You know, the square of a is a squared, and the square of b is b squared. Okay, and then it's like, oh, look, let's go ahead square a minus b. Again, what I'm going to say, it's wrong. Okay, students are like, oh, let's go ahead distribute. Okay, the square of a, same speech, and then the square of b is a b squared, and it's like, oh, gotta copy the sign. Okay, both this is incorrect. The question is, how come they're wrong? Okay, so the power rule only applies to factors, not terms. Okay, so how can we tell if we have factors? We got a factor. So if it will say a to the third squared, if we got a single term, that's a factor. Okay, power rule, you know, that would be a to the 6th. If we had a product, if we had a multiplication problem, hey, multiplication problem, we got two factors. Let's do this. So that will give us a to the 6th, b to the 4th. What if we had a division problem? That's okay. We have quotient of two factors. Okay, so if this was our problem, that would be a to the 6th over b to the 4th. Okay, so power rule only applies to factors. Okay, whether it's a loose factor by itself, product of factors, or quotient of factors. If you got two things separated by a plus or minus, I'm sorry, my friends, I'm crying. We don't have factors, so you cannot distribute. So the question is, oh man, if we cannot distribute the exponent, how are we gonna handle it? I know you know how to handle it. Okay, if we didn't have the variables, you would be a pro. Okay, don't let the fact that we have variables throw you off. So I'm gonna put you some more problems. So let's just say that your preschool friend said, oh hey, what's 7 squared? You're a genius. You're like, oh, 49. Your preschool friend says 1. So you're like, oh, I got you, preschool friend. Since the exponent is 2, that tells us how many times the base is used as a factor. Exponent is 2, so we have 2 factors of the base. So that will give us 7 times 7. So your preschool friend says, thank you. Now what's the square of 10? Show me. Oh, exponent is 2, 2 factors of the base. I know you got it, but it's okay. I want to say my point. Square of 3, talk to your preschool friend. 2 factors of the base. Okay, now coming to our problem. We love algebra. Okay, exponent is 2. What does that mean? That means exactly what you did for the earlier 3 problems. Okay, that means that we have 2 factors of the base. So let's go ahead write it. We write it without the exponent. Okay, so if we have square of a plus 2, that means that we have 2 factors of the base. So namely 2 factors of a plus b. Alright, Miss Torres, where's the multiplication shortcut? We cannot take one right now. At first I want to say, oh, do we have product of conjugates? You know what? We don't. So there's no multiplication shortcut. So we're just going to old school it, FOIL it out. So let's do this. Product of the first term, namely a times itself, will give us a squared. Oh, product of the outer terms, product of a and b is just ab. Okay. Product of the inner terms, product of b and a is ba. But, you know, put it in alphabetical order. So we'll put ab. I try to fix this, but there's no way to come back from it. Remind me not to fix things anymore. Okay, L, product of the last term. So product of b in itself is b squared. So we have our 4 terms. Cool. We listed our 4 products. Cool. So let's go ahead, see if we can combine like terms. In this case, the middle terms are like terms because they have the same variable part. When we combine them, 1ab plus another 1ab will give us 2ab. Okay, so the moral of this story is that square of a plus b is not a squared plus b squared like I mistakenly thought. Okay, square of a plus b is actually a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Spoiler alert, this is going to be our multiplication. This is going to be our multiplication shortcut. We're going to say if this is your question, then that's your answer. But let's look at the case when we're squaring a binomial of the form a minus b. Okay, again, we already got the cobwebs out of the way. We know that we cannot just like distribute the exponent. Okay, so I gotta remind myself, like, oh, how can I write this without the exponent? It's like, okay, exponent is 2. That means that we have 2 factors of the base. Okay, so we got 2 factors of a minus b. I feel like that was the biggest hurdle. We got this. Let me zoom out. Okay, so let's go ahead, FOIL it out. Someone said if we use FOIL to help us in the multiplication process, do we actually have to write it? You know what? You don't. I like to because I need the marker. I get distracted very easily, and if I cross out the product as I go along, then when I come back to my senses, I know exactly where to come back. So that's a personal choice. Okay, so let's do this. F, product of the first terms. Product of the first terms, namely a times itself, will give us a squared. O, product of the outer terms. Product of a and negative b will give us negative ab. I, product of the inner terms. Product of negative b and a is negative ba, but love yourself, put those in alphabetical order. Okay, L, product of the last terms. Negative b times itself will give us positive b squared. Okay, take your time, combine the like terms. The sum of the middle terms, namely negative 1ab minus 1ab. Let me see if I can use this other blue marker. Yeah, that was a little bit better, but it still looks weird. Okay, so when we combine the middle terms, negative 1ab minus 1ab will give us negative 2ab. Okay, so spoiler alert, so the other multiplication shortcut that we're going to attack, we're going to say, hey, if you have square of a minus b, this is your question, that's your answer. Okay, so I want to point out that the answers are pretty similar. Okay, well, that's because the problems themselves are pretty similar. So what should we name this? Okay, from the earlier video, we had product of a binomial times its conjugate, and we had said that the product of a binomial and its conjugate always simplifies to a difference of squares, and that's not because teacher said so. It came from our algebra. Okay, so what should we name this? Well, I guess since we're taking a binomial and squaring it, why don't we just call it square of a binomial? So I think that's the most appropriate name, and that's how it's written in textbooks, I believe. Okay, so squaring a binomial, if this is your question, that's your answer. I'm not gonna lie, the product of conjugates was a little bit easier for me to digest. The squaring a binomial, it takes practice, but if I practice this, I will get better. If I don't try to practice, then it's not gonna happen for me. Okay, so let's do this. Square of a binomial. If this is your question, then that's your answer. If you're squaring a binomial of the form a plus b, then this should be your answer. A squared, 2ab, b squared. What about the signs? Well, let me go back to this. Square of a minus b, a squared, 2ab, b squared. So we notice that the terms are the same. What differs is the sign. Okay, the second sign, no matter if you're squaring a plus or a minus, it's always going to be positive. So let me put a little love note. Always positive. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Now, what about the first sign? If you're scoring a plus b, that's a plus. If you're scoring a minus b, that's a minus. So the first sign will be the same. Okay, same, always positive. Okay, so let's go ahead knock out the fun problem number 7. Okay, so how many problems are we doing? We're at my A through D, so that's 4. Okay, so the directions read same thing, perform the indicated operation, and then you are encouraged, so you don't have to. Okay, so you are encouraged to take the multiplication shortcut if possible, and you don't have to write the polynomials in descending order. So let's go ahead and do the first problem. The first time around, we'll do it without the shortcut, and then the second time around, we're going to do our best to take the shortcut. So let's do this. Square of x minus 8. It's like, okay, I don't have time for shortcuts, so let's stick to what we know. Let's go ahead and write it without the exponent. Since the exponent is 2, that means that we're going to have 2 factors of the base. So that's going to give us x minus 8 times x minus 8. Now that we have product of 2 binomials, let's go ahead FOIL it out. Product of the first terms gives us x squared. Product of the outer terms, namely x and negative 8, will give us negative 8x. Product of the inner terms, negative 8 times x, will give us negative 8 times x. Product of the last terms, negative 8 times itself, will give us 64. Okay, we took care of our 4 products. Now let's see if we have like terms to combine, and in this case we do. When we combine the like terms, namely the middle terms, that will give us negative 16x, and then we'll bring down the rest of the problem. Fantastic. Okay, let's go ahead and do this problem one more time. So I'm going to call it A2. I don't want to call it B because I want to highlight that it's the same problem. So I'm like, okay, can I take a shortcut? I don't know. Do we have product of conjugates? No. Am I squaring a binomial? Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So let me write down the formula. If we're squaring a binomial of the form A minus B, if this is your question, then that's your answer. So first I'm going to write down the terms, and then I'm going to write down the sign. So the terms are a squared, 2ab, b squared. Remember, this is not the answer because Torres said so. It comes from our algebra. Okay, we discovered it. Okay, we'll stick to that. Okay, for the signs, same, always positive. Same, always positive. So same, I mean like whatever you have inside. Okay, we got a minus, and then always positive. So this multiplication shortcut, the squaring of binomial, is always a little bit tougher for me to digest, so I will always write down the formula, and then right below I'll write the problem again. Why do I do it like this? I do it like this because it helps to highlight what A and B are. Okay, so A is whatever you see before the operation. Okay, where am I? Okay, so in this case, X is like our A. B is whatever you see after the operation. So in this case, we see an 8. So 8 is like our B. Okay, so if this is our question, that's our answer. Okay, now with some practice, you may feel comfortable enough to go straight to answer. What if you're like, I already read this chapter ahead, I know the answer? Well, good for you, okay? But I recommend that you speak to yourself. So like write out your thought process, and then when you do your homework, you can just go straight to answer. So let's do this. If this is our question, then this is our answer. The first term in our answer is a squared. So let's take our a, namely x, and square it. The square of x is just x squared, or square of x, minus 2ab. So this is saying you're going to take the number 2, multiply it by a, multiply it by b. So we got to multiply 3 things, 2, a, and b. I don't really care the order which you multiply, but for the purpose of mental math, I highly recommend you find the product of a and b and then double it up. Why? Because it's easier to multiply by 2. Okay, so product of a and b, product of x and 8 will give us 8x. Okay, where did that come from? That came from the product of a and b. Product of a and b, namely x and 8, will give us 8x. And then we gotta double it up or multiply it by 2, and that will give us 16x. Always positive, b squared. The square of 8 will give us 64. So for notes, I like to show my thought process. For homework, I know I say you can go straight to answer if you like, but I recommend you show yourself the thought process. After you've done a few problems, then you can go straight to answer. Okay, let's go ahead and do problem B. So again, we're doing a total of 4 problems. Okay, problem B, where am I? We have square of 3w minus 7x. Square of 3w minus 7x. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to take a multiplication shortcut. Let's go ahead and write down the formula. So if this is our question, square of a minus b, then this is going to be our answer. Sorry, I'm trying to get this. Okay. If this is our question, then this is our answer. A squared, 2ab, b squared. For the signs, same, always positive. Okay, so let's go ahead and identify our a and b. Okay, so a is whatever you see before the operation, b is whatever you see after the operation. Yeah, that didn't look so good on the light, sorry. A is whatever you see before the operation. B is whatever you see after. So let's do this. If this is our question, then this is our answer. The first term in our answer is a squared. So we're going to take that first term, namely a, and square it. The square of 3w will give us 9w squared. Someone asked, how come I don't just keep going forward? The reason why I don't keep going forward is because if I just plug in everything, it's not going to build that mental math. But if I plug it in and then simplify, I'm hoping that it will give us that mental math. All right. So we have a squared minus 2ab. So you know the speech, minus 2 times the product of a and b. Product of a and b will give us 3w. This minus is in the way. Okay. Product of a and b, product of a and b, 3w times 7x will give us 21wx. And let's go ahead and simplify. 21wx times 2 will give us 42wx. Okay, we'll bring down the minus. Always positive, b squared. So we're going to take that b and square it. The square of 7x times another 7x will give us 49x squared. What do we do thereafter? Nothing. Okay, there's no like terms to combine. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do 2 more and we're out. Okay. Problem C. Where am I? Okay, problem C. We have square of 5x plus 2. Square of 5x plus 2. So on the test, you can rewrite it without the exponent of 2. You know, write the 2 factors of 5x plus 2 and fold it out. But I'm trying to practice the multiplication shortcut. Anything new is scary, but if you generally give yourself time to practice it, you're going to be good. Are you going to be a pro after 2 problems? Of course not. That's how we do our homework. So let's do this. So let's go ahead and write down the formula. If we're squaring a binomial of the form a plus b, if this is our question, then this will be our answer. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So let's go ahead and identify a and b. I'm going to write this over because I learned my... Actually, it doesn't look bad. Okay, so I'll keep it from here. A is whatever we see before the operation. B is whatever we see after the operation. So let's do this. So if this is our question, that's our answer. Square of 5x plus 2. Let's do it. The first term should be of the form a squared. So we're going to take that 5x and square it. I know that we're tempted to move forward, but if you do that, you're not going to build that mental math consistency. Okay, so I'm pretty much writing down how I'm thinking. I'm like, oh shit, I got to square a. Okay, 5x, when we square it, 5x times 5x will give us 25x squared. Okay, plus middle term is always of the form 2ab. So we're going to find the product of a and b and then double it up. Product of a and b, namely 5x and 2, 5x times 2 will give us 10x. So we find the product of a and b and then double it up. 10x times 2 will give us 20x. Cool. 2 terms down, 1 more to go. Moving forward, always positive, b squared. I'm going to take that second term and square it. And the square root of 2 is 4. Fantastic. So I said we were going to do 4 problems. So I guess we need 1 more. So where am I? Problem D. We have, you cannot see that. Okay, you cannot see that. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Problem D, we have square of 4m squared plus 5n cubed. Square 4m squared plus 5n cubed. So we have a binomial, 2-term expression. We got a binomial and we're squaring it. There's a plus sign. So this is our question. That's our answer. So let me go ahead and write down the formula. So if we're squaring a binomial of the form a plus b, if this is our question, then this will be our answer. A squared, 2ab, b squared. For the signs, same, always positive. Okay, same, always positive. That doesn't look so good. Okay, so let's identify a and b and then we can almost leave. So a is whatever we see before the operation. In this case, it's 4m squared. B is whatever we see after the operation or after the plus or minus. In this case, it's 5n cubed. So let's do this. If this is our question, then this is our answer. So let's go ahead quickly square this ugly thing. The first term in our answer should be of the form a squared. So we're going to take that a and square it. So I'm like, what's the square of 4m squared? 4 times 4 will give us 16. M squared times another m squared will give us m to the 4th. Handle it however you need to. Plus, middle term is of the form 2ab. So again, mental math. We're going to find the product of a and b and then double it up. Product of a and b will give us 4 times 5 is 20 times the variables times m squared times n cubed. Or to say that more fluently, product of a and b, namely 4m squared and 5n cubed, will give us 20m squared n cubed. Okay, so product of a and b is that, and then we gotta double it up, and 20 times 2 will give us 40. So that product will give us 40m squared n cubed. Always positive. B squared. Okay, the square of 5n cubed. Okay, brutal problems. Okay, so let's do this. 5 times 5 is 25, and n cubed times another n cubed will give us n to the 6. Cool. Now, is this the end of our multiplication unit? Of course not, okay? But it is the end of this video, okay? So we're going to come back for our, I think, I lost track. I think it's like our 4th and final video, and we're going to do some spicy problems. So come back.